Guess who's got 2 thumbs and spends way too much money on movies? Some other guy. I don't know. Personally, I don't spend half as much as I should. I mean, there are so many movies out there that I want to see, and I'm opting to buy food and pay my rent over those, which is just dumb. That makes me seeing all those movies I want to see take a longer time. Movie pickups, cause I got 6 new movies that I want to show here, and I can only talk about 5, cause I haven't seen 1. There's a reason for that, and the reason is I'm fucking idiot. Let's start going through all the movies I wasted my money on this time. We'll start with the biggest disappointment in this pile. I figured I read the back cover, it sounded like it could be cool, so I got it. It has Gary Oldman, so that usually means it's gotta be at least decent movie. It wasn't good, it wasn't terrible, it was just bland. That's the worst thing movie can be. I mean, if you're not gonna be great, then at least be so shitty you're kinda entertaining. But this was just... Mary.
In this boat, I see our future.
It's a 50-year-old catch and it needs work.
I thought this was something we could finally make ours.
I was just browsing and I saw this and yeah, Gary Oldman, Mary, it's a horror movie. I gotta see that. I love Gary Oldman. Gary Oldman's great. He wouldn't let me down, would he? In this movie, Gary Oldman actually lives up to his name. No, I don't mean Gary Oldman as the name of an actor that's usually connected into great acting or great movies. No, Oldman. Because he plays an old man. He's just bored out of his mind, I think. I mean, not sure how else I can explain it. Gary Oldman is a sea captain called David, and there's this auction where they're selling off some boats, and there's this piece of shit old boat that needs a lot of work, but for some reason it's calling out to Gary Oldman's character, and he has to have it, cause, well, it's possessed, there's ghosts, it's a ghost ship. It's not even ghost ship. It's like a ghost boat, ghost sailboat. Ghost ship that movie wasn't really that great, but god damn it was at least really entertaining. But this, it's few people out on the sea, and there's ghost, and you can see the ghost at some points, and it's terrible CGI, it fucking sucks, and it was just bland, it was just boring. There's some spooky shit going on, and it's 1 hour and 25 minutes, so it ain't long, so that's one thing that's going for this, but other than that, go watch Ghost Ship. You know, the one with the starting scene where everyone dies when that wire cuts the whole crew. That's fucking fantastic scene in that movie. I kinda wanna see that again. I don't have that. It's a movie I don't want in my collection, but I would like to see it again. Although I'd be willing to switch Mary to that.
You thought you could bring your family to the sea.
Not good, not terrible, just boring. Which is worse. Hey, you know who's one of my favorite actors who I almost put in my top 10 favorite actors list even? Bruce Lee! I love Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee's fantastic. Only problem, his acting career was kinda cut short cause, well, he died. That usually cuts things short. It was sad, he didn't get to make a lot of movies, so that's why I couldn't really put him on that list, even though I really kinda wanted to, cause he's been a big influence on Hong Kong cinema and kung fu movies and all those things. When I saw this was also like 3 or 4 euros, and it's actually a movie about Bruce Lee. I had to get it. I was setting myself up for a huge disappointment, but I was curious. It is Bruce Lee, and the movie I got was Birth of the Dragon.
How you doing, Vince? I'm good. How long you been knowing karate? 22 years. Almost as long as I've been alive. Try not to hurt me.
Now my first clue, which should have told me that this wasn't gonna be quality, was that it was actually produced by WWE Studios, who usually make crappy movies. Birth of the Dragon takes place in the 60s in San Francisco, where Bruce Lee lived, and he was teaching Western people to do kung fu, which kind of pissed off all the people back in Hong Kong or China, you know, who didn't like Chinese dude teaching their secrets how to kill a person with 5 fingers of death out here in the West. So, you know, they got pissed. So they sent this dude called Carjack Malone. No wait, that was from Escape from LA. Wong Jackman, yeah, that was him. It actually says it behind here, I was cheating. But I remembered it was Jack something. So yeah, they kind of sent him, and he was observing what Bruce was doing, and obviously it was a famous fight that they had. And this movie's kind of main thing is it's building up to that fight between Bruce Lee and Wong Jackman. Yeah, but the guy who plays Bruce Lee, Okay, I'm kind of having internal battle here, because I'm a huge Bruce Lee fan. I protect Bruce Lee with everything, you know. You touch Bruce Lee, well, Bruce Lee can take care of themselves, but if you touch him in like media form, you know, you're bashing him or anything like that, I'm gonna get pissed. I'm gonna be super critical, you know. If someone brings their version of Bruce Lee on screen, I'm just gonna be super critical. I'm trying not to be. The dude who played Bruce Lee, he looked pretty good. Hurts me to say that, but he looked pretty good. His mannerisms, somewhat there. They weren't exactly, but somewhat there.
You boys done playing?
It is interesting because it's an interesting person and interesting period of time, but at the same time it's kind of not. I think it's partly because they're touching Bruce Lee and I don't like that, and I think it's partly because this is WWE Studios and they do shit and you can see their style in this movie too, and it's not really good, but at the same time there were, you know, kind of interesting tidbits also. This is not like a real factual movie all the way through. They actually used this one of Bruce Lee's students here as kind of the main character of this movie, who kind of ties Bruce Lee and Wong Jackman together. You know, their stories kind of helps follow the narration, because the guy is first taught by Bruce Lee and then he sees Wong Jackman arrive at San Francisco and wants him to teach him stuff or to, you know, he's a huge fan of him too, but obviously Bruce Lee and Wong Jackman don't like each other, so he's kind of there in the middle of. And there was also this love story they drew in there with Chinese. She was a waiter and there was this some kind of contract, so basically the owner of the restaurant owned her. So I don't know, this is just really hard movie for me to review without any sort of bias, but I took some I did take a peek online what other people said about this movie, and it was kind of there, you know, 4s, 5s, 6s, maybe even 7s, you know, somewhere around there. And yeah, I think I'd put this around there too, you know, like 5, 6. It was better than Married though. I definitely watched this again over that movie. So yeah, if you're interested in Bruce Lee, like really interested, and you're a huge fan, yeah, maybe this is worth a check. But other than that, I don't know. It's just actually, if you're not interested in Bruce Lee and you're not a fan of Bruce Lee, you might actually enjoy this more just as a kind of martial arts love story or something like that. It might actually work better that way. Yeah, let's go with that. If you're a fan of Bruce Lee, you might find a lot of stuff to nitpick and you're probably not gonna enjoy yourself that much. But if you like martial arts and love stories, this is pretty decent. I'd say like 6, and that's about it. I don't know what else to say about this. Bruce Lee, except not, but you know, kind of tries to be. Next movie I have, this is the classic I was missing from my collection, and yeah, finally I decided to buy this because it was super cheap, and I just came across this. I haven't really been looking for this because I like to look for movies that I haven't seen but that sound, you know, like really interesting, or are like these older cult classics, or there's something kind of magical thing that pulls me in, you know, that intrigues me, why I want to see them, you know, like Ghost Ship with Gary Oldman, mistake, or Bruce Lee, kind of mistake. But yeah, I've seen this before when it came out, 93, 94, somewhere, 92, huh? I saw this around then when this came out, 92, and I've seen this like once or twice after that, but it's been like 15 years since I last saw it, maybe even 20 years, I don't remember, but fantastic movie. One of the best westerns ever made, and actually one of the best movies ever made. Unforgiven.
You think we killed him?
Yeah. We killed him.
Clint Eastwood, Morgan Freeman, Gene Hackman, Richard Harris. I'm not actually really that familiar with Richard Harris. I don't know, it doesn't just ring a bell. Even when I watched this movie, I was like, it's kind of familiar, but I just couldn't wrap it around my head where I know him from. But yeah, this is probably the most realistic and grittiest western out there that I know of. This is just fantastic because there are really no good guys in this. Everyone's just kind of more or less shit, because that's probably the way people were back then, because it was the old west, you know, you had to do probably some shitty things to survive. This movie portrays that kind of people pretty good, actually pretty fucking perfectly. The dialogue's just fantastic in this movie, and just the storytelling. There's a prostitute, and then there's this one guy who's getting on with the prostitute, and the prostitute said something, fuck, I can't remember. Was it that he was quick or small dick or something like that? I don't remember, but basically the guy, he gets pissed. So he fucks up the prostitute's face, and that's gonna be a huge blow to business, because that's kind of how they sell themselves, with the face. So all the other prostitutes, they all get together and they raise money and they hire killers to kill the guy, and there was also this other guy he was with. It was 2 guys. They raise money and hire a hitman. Now the bigger problem is that the bordello, or the whorehouse, is in a city that's run by Gene Hackman, who's this kind of asshole.
And then if I was to say that you shit in your pants because of a cowardly soul, but you'd show me that pistol right quick, wouldn't you? You'd shoot me dead.
Well, everyone's asshole in this movie, so that's kind of redundant to say that, but no one's like fully asshole or no one's like fully good. He's got his things that make him, at times, kind of admirable. It's hard to tell. He's a man of principles and he's tough, but he's also savage and he shows no mercy. All that, there are these humanizing factors in everyone in this movie. That's what I love. Clint Eastwood, he knows how to write fucking characters better than almost anyone out there. He's so goddamn good at it. And every one of the characters in this movie just did fucking fantastic. Anyway, there's this young guy who arrives at Clint Eastwood's house. Clint Eastwood is old as shit. He's been old as shit for the last 50 years, but he's old as shit. He's this retired gunman or outlaw. He wasn't a good person or anything. He got married and the wife passed away and living in his little farmhouse in the middle of nowhere with his 2 kids, and they're raising pigs, hogs. But the young guy comes with an offer. There's this bounty on those 2 guys, and Clint Eastwood gets his friend Morgan Freeman, and they all go on an adventure, kill those bastards who cut up that prostitute's face, and well, needless to say, they end up in the town that's run by Gene Hackman, and shit goes down, and it's ugly. The plot is pretty straightforward. It's the characters in this movie that make this movie. It's just the way the characters are built and how they're told, how they grow throughout this movie, and well, some of them have already grown, and you can kind of feel it, even though they don't show their whole life, but throughout all the dialogue and all that, it's a masterpiece movie. I don't know what else to say about this. If you haven't seen this, go check it out. This one I do recommend. I don't want to go on too long. A fantastic movie, one of the best westerns out there, and one of the best movies, like I said. Just if you like good, compelling human stories and great movies overall, this one's for you. So, yeah. Okay, let's check what I fucked up next. This was actually the movie I was most excited to see out of all of these. Maybe second. No, this was the one I was most excited to see. I've seen this director's first movie. It was fantastic. I loved it. So, of course, I was really interested in this movie. It seems kind of unique and weird, and god damn it. Problem was, when this movie came out, the physical version, you couldn't find this Blu-ray from anywhere with Finnish covers or I don't think even English covers. This is a French movie. There was DVD though, but I kind of wanted to switch more into Blu-ray collecting, so I waited. This came out 2021, so okay, I've waited 3 years now. Finally, I was like, yeah, I can't wait anymore. I want to see that movie. I pulled the trigger. I got this. The movie is called Titane. It's a French movie. And this is the Swedish cover. I'm not a fan of Swedish language overall. It sounds weird. I live in Finland. We have Swedish. It's our second language, which I don't really talk because no one's really interested in talking Sweden here. What are you gonna do with Swedish language? English? That you can use. Chinese you can use because a lot of people talk that too. German? Maybe, yeah. Russia? Spanish? Those you can use. French even, in a lot of places. But Swedish? Yeah, you can use that in our backyard, which is called Sweden. And that's about it. Anyway, the director's first movie was called Raw, which was fantastic. It was this little girl who was a medical student. He was a vegan, but he suddenly started having these cravings for meat, human meat mostly, and all that. And so yeah, it's that was a fantastic movie. I loved that. It wasn't like vampire or zombie movie exactly. It had its own style and twist. If you haven't seen that movie, check it out. It's fantastic. I need to get that for my collection. But yeah, you might have guessed where I'm going with this. Swedish covers. A lot of times, if there's Swedish covers, there's also Finnish language in these. Or, all the Nordic countries. Norway, Denmark, Finland, and Sweden. Maybe even Iceland was at some times. But this goddamn thing, only subtitle language is Sweden. And it's a French movie. They speak French. My French and my Swedish, they're both a bit rusty. Yeah, I was really happy I popped this in one night. I was like, finally gonna see this movie. It's so fucking dumb. Long story short, I didn't know what the hell was going on. I didn't watch this. It would have been pointless. I'm really excited to still see this. I'm actually thinking I'm just probably gonna pull the trigger and buy the DVD version. Anyone know if there's an English version, English cover? I think there's also like Spanish version with Spanish covers and Spanish subtitles, but again, that doesn't really help me a lot. I don't know a lot of Spanish. I know like all the dirty words like pendejo, hijo de puta, mierda, uno cerveza, el gato. I'm sorry, Ricky. Don't pee in my shoes, please. So anyways, yeah, I can't watch this fucking movie. Here's the back cover, by the way. It just looks so interesting type of movie. I've seen the trailer and there's a woman who gets some kind of metal blade in her head. She gets really into cars and apparently she has sex with car and then there's this serial killer or something. I really want to see this. God damn it. Then we get to my second last movie, and this one I got because this was released by Arrow Video, which releases pretty much only quality from what I've seen. I love Arrow Video releases. They do all these kind of weirder movies, cult classics that are usually forgotten. This one, this was on sale, so that's why I got this, because Arrow Videos rarely are that cheap. They usually have bigger prices, because they are kind of rarer stuff. This looked really interesting. It has Anthony Perkins, who was in Psycho. I don't think I've really seen the guy in anything else except Psycho. And this is a movie called Edge of Sanity.
Anthony Perkins.
What if I followed my every instinct completely?
And Anthony Perkins.
Again, Anthony Perkins is kind of playing two parts. One sane, one insane. The main reason why I was really drawn into this movie is because this was supposed to be Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde meets Jack the Ripper. And when I read about the plot, it was like he invents this drug, which actually he didn't invent. There was this monkey, he was doing experiments and the monkey just happened to knock some shit over and boom, you get this thing that turns Dr. Jekyll into Mr. Hyde, and that's how he becomes Mr. Hyde, who is this insane person. But yeah, there was something like he starts turning into Mr. Hyde, but there's also a serial killer out there who is believed to be Jack the Ripper, but they framed that like it was kind of the big mystery of this movie, but right at the pretty much start of the movie, close to the start, you know, once he starts turning into Mr. Hyde, it's Mr. Hyde, it's not Jack the Ripper. It's kind of like Mr. Hyde was actually Jack the Ripper in the past, but it's still kind of interesting. I enjoyed this. It was a bit disappointing. It is a horror movie, except it's not really like that scary or anything. It's got a lot of nudity. This is the uncut release. Arrow Videos, I think, usually are. And so yeah, you can see all kinds of nude stuff. There's even penises for all you gals out there. If you want to see those on your screen, well, at least there was one penis, maybe two penises. By day, he's a respected doctor, and by night, he's Mr. Hyde who goes and has his way with prostitutes. He's not actually having sex in this. The movie starts with Anthony Perkins being a little kid and seeing this woman have sex with this dude. When you think about it, it's really Psycho-ish. You know, Psycho movie type of story, you know, he gets kind of split personality in this one too, and it all started with, well, you know, him seeing some woman get some dick. I really need to watch this again, because I was kind of half asleep when I saw this, so that's why I'm not being really that accurate with this movie, but I think the main thing that I liked about this movie is it looks pretty bland when he's Dr. Jekyll. It's kind of almost boring in a ways, but when he's Mr. Hyde, the camera angles, they're all like this Dutch angle, which is this kind of, if I was like this, well, the camera would be like, you know.
A man and a madman taking their pleasure on the cutting edge of terror.
Then there's all these colors, like the lighting. The back can be like all red and colorful, you know, or blue, purple, whatever. But Anthony Perkins' face, no matter where he is, when he's Mr. Hyde, it's all white. And, well, he looks exactly like that. So that was cool. I just loved the style they made this movie. I mean, sure, nudity and gore, that's great too, but it's the filmmaking style that I just found out to be the most intriguing stuff about this. Now, it is Arrow release, so it has reversible cover, but I think the other side is kind of, well, this is what you see now. This is kind of boring. This is kind of like 80s, 90s, straight-to-video stuff, which this probably was. And I don't know, but at least there you can see Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde both, how he kind of transforms his face and hair and all. He just combs his hair in front of his face and he becomes pale. But yeah, I'm just gonna move on. If you're into kind of weirder slasher movies and nudity and weird movie making and Anthony Perkins in Psycho, you want to see more Psycho, this is, yeah, I'd recommend check it out. And we're down to my last movie, and this was the one I was probably, well, this or Titane I was most excited to see. This one for a whole different reason though. Titane was actually a really interesting looking movie, so I really wanted to see that because of that. This one, I remember seeing this and loving this back when I was a kid, like under 10 years old, I don't know, 6, 7, maybe 8. I watched this a bunch of times back then, and ever since then, for over 30 years, I've been trying to look for this movie again, and finally, they re-released it in Blu-ray form, and I got it, and I got to live my childhood memories again, and this was decent. I enjoyed it, don't get me wrong, and this is also the Asian movie of this video, and it's one with Chuck Norris. Now you might be thinking, Chuck Norris, Asian movie? What the hell? Yes, Chuck Norris actually did 2 movies where he was villain, and both were Hong Kong movies, or Asian, Chinese movies. Way of the Dragon with Bruce Lee, where he was the villain of the movie, and this is Chuck Norris's second time when he's the villain of the movie. And from what I know, this is the last time he was the villain of the movie too. The movie is called Slaughter in San Francisco.
You won't leave here alive. I got in, I'll get out. And nobody here is going to stop me. You want to try it?
No, I'll just stand by and watch. And see what you can do about it. Get him!
Or there's actually the Hong Kong version. This one has 2 versions. Back as a kid, I saw the Slaughter in San Francisco movie, and that one was dubbed all in English. The original Hong Kong version, which is actually longer and is the uncut version, is actually called Yellow-Faced Dragon. Yeah, maybe not a name that would fly these days, but
把我吓了一跳，我以为又发现了一个尸首呢。
你真是个很狡猾的女孩子。
To give the name credit, this movie, especially the Hong Kong version, is actually kind of really racist. I was actually really surprised. The US version, they actually cut down most of the racism, and I don't think they cut too much anything else. And the Hong Kong version is like, what, 20 minutes longer? So that's a lot of racism. The main hero of this movie is played by Wong Tao, and he's a San Francisco police officer, Don Wong. And he has a partner who's played by Robert Jones, and the character's name is John Sumner. Sumner, S-U-M-N-E-R. Not Summer, Sumner. Well, actually, Robert Jones's character, he gets killed, so it's up to Wong Tao's character to get revenge and find the bad guys and put them away. But he is still in this for a good chunk of the movie, so yeah, kind of second mainly. Well, there's also a woman, played by Sylvia Chang. The reason why they wanted to do this in San Francisco was because actually Bruce Lee was first in the talks to star in this movie. So that's why, because Bruce Lee was born in San Francisco. Unfortunately, the director and Bruce Lee had some kind of falling out, and actually this came out in 74, so Bruce Lee had passed away a year earlier. It was 73, wasn't it? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. Also, probably one of the reasons how they got Chuck Norris in this too, because, you know, he had worked with Bruce Lee prior in Way of the Dragon, which is still probably the best fight scene ever in movie history. Chuck Norris versus Bruce Lee. I should really do my top 7 fight scenes in movies or something like that. Chuck Norris actually didn't want to come into this at first, but they told him that it was a Hong Kong movie and it would never be seen in Western countries, so that's why Chuck agreed to do this. He's smoking cigars and he's this kind of over-the-top villain.
I only know 2 kinds of people. Those who obey me and those who die.
He actually does good. Chuck Norris should have done more villain roles. He's actually pretty entertaining in this one. It is cheesy and it is bad movie in a lot of ways. Despite that, Chuck Norris seems like he had blast playing the villain in this one. Now the movie starts when our main characters Don Wong and John Sumner they see these 2 dudes who are trying to rape this Chinese girl, so they interfere because they're cops and they arrest them, and then when they're back at the precinct, the Chinese girl just says, "Oh, I was just playing, you know, because that turns them on," and all that, and so yeah, turns out the 2 guys were from some bigger crime syndicate, so that's why the woman's lying there, and yeah, then obviously the crime syndicate wants some revenge, so they come after the John Sumner character, so they kidnap him and beat him up, but Don Wong actually tracks them down and saves him, and ends up killing one of the attackers, so he goes to jail. I'm not actually sure if he spends any time in prison, because John Sumner's character with his wife, they come and see Don Wong Wong when he's in jail, and they're telling him that he could face up to, was it like 1 year in prison? But the next thing it just cuts somewhere in the near future, and Don Wong is a waiter at a restaurant. It's 74 kung fu movie, don't expect a lot of consistency. Anyway, there's a crime syndicate, and later on John Sumner's character, he's still a cop, and he witnesses this robbery and gets killed by the bad guys, and that's when Don Wong starts investigating the shit himself, questioning people, trying to find out the perps, and tries to get his revenge. And turns out Chuck Norris is the head of the crime syndicate. The Hong Kong version was like 1 hour and 50 minutes, 45 minutes, something around there. Chuck Norris enters like 1 hour 5 minutes in. That's way too little of Chuck Norris. Why can't we have more Chuck Norris in this? In the US version, Chuck's name was actually probably the first recorded Chuck Norris fact ever. It was his name. His character is apparently called in the US version Chuck Slaughter. Let's face it, if Chuck Norris wanted to slaughter the whole planet, he could do that. Luckily he's a peace-loving guy, so we're all safe for now. But yeah, if you like crappy 70s kung fu action, which is entertaining in all of its crappiness, this one, I do recommend it. It's not the best martial arts movie I've ever seen, and it was supposed to have Bruce Lee at first, but unfortunately we didn't get him, so yeah, we got Wong Tao instead of him, and he does decent job. He doesn't have the charisma of Bruce Lee. He's alright in this, and the end fight with Chuck Norris is, it's still pretty badass. It's actually kind of funny. Everyone's always saying, you know, Chuck Norris only got beat once and it was by Bruce Lee, but he actually got beat twice. The other time was by Wong Tao. So yeah, there's two guys who beat Chuck Norris. But then again, no one ever remembers this movie, and yeah, like I said, it took me 30 years to hunt this down. I just happened to see that they re-released this Eureka, which is one of those places who also do kind of these cult classics and all these other kind of more obscure movies from the past. They like to re-release those, so they decided to make Slaughter in San Francisco, and I thank them for this. I finally got this. I finally got to see this. It didn't maybe live up to the hype I had as a kid, but man, it was still a kind of fun movie to see. And this was apparently the first time I saw the Hong Kong version. I gotta watch the US version also, because it's in this too. Cringy, cheesy, but man, it's entertaining. I'm just gonna stop this video. Slaughter in San Francisco. If you're into 70s martial arts and you've seen everything else, check it out. Unforgiven, obviously, probably the best movie. I haven't seen Titane. I doubt that it's that good, but God, I wanna see it. Overall, pretty alright movies. Now, fuck off, and I'm gonna fuck off too, and let's fuck back here when I upload more videos, and yeah. I just love when I find stuff from my childhood. It's so awesome, you know. Brings back memories. Except, I don't really remember shit. I remember little scenes from that movie, but now after watching that, I didn't remember seeing any of the things that I remembering from the movie when I was a kid. It kind of was pretty different from what I remember. I'm confused now. You're probably too. Goodbye.